Hi, and welcome to our Wednesday night message. My name is Reverend Donna, and I'm with Our Sacred Journeys. And tonight we will be addressing the fourth chapter in the Science of Mind text. This has been our Back to Basics month. We've spent these last three Wednesdays, and then tonight, our fourth one, focusing on the first four chapters of the Science of Mind text. The first week was called The Thing Itself. The second was the way it works. The third is what it does. And tonight we'll be talking about how to use it. And I like talking about the foundations for our teachings in the beginning of the year because I believe it gives us an opportunity to start anew, to create a foundation of how we want to continue to grow and evolve throughout this year. And in Science of Mind, we are part of metaphysics, and metaphysics and our teaching is a practical application of Christianity. It's a practical application of how we show up in the world. We use and study other teachings, not just Christianity, but Christianity is also a huge part of who we are in the teachings of Christ and how we can have that way of right living, meaning in alignment with a higher truth. And when we're talking about how to use it, we're talking about how to use that power, that presence that we know as God. How do we delve into that knowingness of who we are from a spiritual place and show up in our world? On page 54 in the Science of Mind text, or at least in my issue of the Science of Mind text, my copy, this is Ernest Holmes' words. He says, "The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let the inner spirit guide us with a conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect." So when we think about it, when we think about how we want to show up in the world and how do we use this power and this presence, we first have to make some decisions, I believe, in how we are going to utilize this truth, this teaching. What is it that I want to create in my world? And to be really crystal clear on what it is, because when we are using the power of spirit through the law, through treatment, through spiritual practice, the universe, God, wants us to have a clear idea of what it is we want to experience. And I think there's a pretty good indication if we have a clear understanding, we'll see it showing up in our world. If we are what I call wishy-washy or trying to figure out what it is we want, we may see a variety of things showing up in our world. Maybe not completely and wholly, maybe it's in pieces. Or we might not quite feel that we are showing up as the highest beingness that we could be, the highest truth. So there are a couple of different ways that we can focus on our thoughts. Ernest Holmes taught change our thinking, change our life. And I believe I talked a little bit about that last week. How do I change my thinking to be more in alignment of what it is I want to experience in the world? I already mentioned it a few minutes ago, but there are three things that I believe. One is through our spiritual practice, power of prayer, staying prayed up, having a better understanding of how the law works and using that in our daily lives, in our thought processes, in our choices, our actions. But first and foremost, before we can do either of those two things, we need to remember to make a conscious decision to change our thoughts. I need to make that decision and say yes. And I'm going to see it by what I'm seeing in my world. What am I experiencing in my world? And then I can go back and take a look and course correct if I feel I need to do that, or make another decision, or decide that maybe I'm complete in an area that I didn't realize I was already complete in. I remember many years ago, I was grappling with a decision, and I was talking to a friend of mine who I felt was very wise, and she was listening as I was talking about uh, some of the things I thought I wanted to accomplish, and where I thought I was, and realizing I was complete in an area that I didn't expect to be complete in. And all she said very quietly was, maybe you've already completed that and didn't realize it. And I realized in that moment that even though I hadn't gotten to the point where I thought I was going to want to be or attain, I was complete. I was complete in where I was at that moment, and I could let it go. And that was a powerful place for me to be when I realized that. Um, and I think when we talk about how to use the science of mind, we can think about maybe sometimes we feel complete in where we're at. Ernest Holmes goes on to say on page 58, he said, we should work not with anxiety, but with expectancy, not by coercion, but with conviction, not through compulsion, but in a state of conscious recognition and receptivity. We do not have to drive or push, but we must accept and believe. We should then leave everything to the law, expecting a full and complete proof of our faith. And I really feel that is the truth of who we are when we can come from that place of standing in our truth, of being true to who we are, of listening to the spirit within, to that still small voice within. And we can have that opportunity to utilize treatment, utilize the law, utilize the power of who we are as spiritual beings. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. And for each of us, that human experience might mean something different for all of us. And our definition of being spiritual might also have a different definition. And that's one of the things I loved about what Ernest Holmes taught. He taught that this was a philosophy, it was a way of life. And that when we consciously choose to utilize it in our everyday life, we would see and experience heaven on earth. And when I come to that place of realizing that there is a power greater than I am and I can use it, another famous Ernest Holmes quote that I really, really like, it gives me an opportunity to remember who I am, to remember that I have a choice. I can use the law of spirit, the law of good, the law of metaphysics, the law of karma, the law of plenty. And we can use those to create the life that we wish to experience. There's a story called The Lost Key. You might have heard me share it before. And it's a Sufi parable. And the key player, the key person in this story is named Nasruddin. And it goes like this. One day, Nasruddin was found out in the streets searching frantically for something. Many people were observing him searching. And finally, an inquisitive man was couldn't contain himself anymore, so he had to ask. He said, "What are you searching for, Nasruddin?" And he responded with, "I've lost my key." Well, the person and then the people around decided they wanted to help him, so they started searching with him. And after some time of searching, someone finally asked him, "Where exactly did you lose your key? Do you know?" And finally, Nasruddin stopped and he said, "I lost the key in my house." "Then why are we searching for it out here in the street? Why aren't we looking in the house?" And he said, "There's more light out here." So sometimes I think when we're searching for something, we may not be looking in the right place. We might be looking outside of ourselves instead of realizing the powers within. If I want to be happy, I need to create that happiness. If I want to experience love in the world, I need to love myself and show up as love in the world. If I want peace, I need to start with me. These are just a few examples. So I wonder sometimes if we look outside ourselves on how to use the teachings that we believe in instead of looking within. The key is always within, whether it's an interconnection with a higher power or God, or if it's an opportunity to take a look at the law and how I'm experiencing my world. And am I utilizing the law in the way I choose to, or is it by default? I have that opportunity to look for the sacred within me. And I really feel that sometimes we look outside of ourselves. And by coming into an alignment with that higher idea of who we are, by loving ourselves and showing up as who we are, the truth of who we are, we have the opportunity to experience a different way of living, a different way of interacting in the world, a different way of showing up as love or joy or peace or seeing the beauty in life. They say the gift of a flower, its purpose is to show and remind us of beauty in the world. What if we use that practical application of the science of mind to create or reveal the truth of who we are? I'm going to turn within in prayer and just give thanks, recognizing and knowing that right where I am is that divine presence. Right where I am is light, is love, is peace, is joy, is wisdom. That right where I am is the divine expressing itself in, through, and as me, for I am a unique expression of spirit. And that I recognize as I use these truths, this teaching, in a practical way, that my life unfolds in ease and grace, and it unfolds in ways that reveal beauty and joy in a way that I sense and know, whether anyone else does or not. It is truly how I feel. I invite us into this prayer of calling forth that truth for ourselves in our own way. As I release my word into the law, I know it is done. I am grateful for this higher idea expressing itself easily and gracefully. Grateful for the revelation of truth, of wholeness, of beauty. I say, thank you, sweet spirit. I release my word into the law. It is done. I let it be, and so it is. Thank you for being here and listening to my message tonight. Next month, I will be addressing the movies Frozen and Frozen 2 and how those movies translate into a spiritual experience, at least in my life. And I'm going to invite you on the journey as we share that next month. May you continue to take care and be blessed until we talk again. Namaste.